going. It's going live. It
Something.
says,
I see it. It's gonna happen. Yeah,
hear it.
it's
I hear
coming.
the music.
There's the Tara
Oh
show.
my God, I feel
It's
alive.
it's electric. When that music starts up
Yeah.
and it's coming and it's happening, and I have to mute that from the YouTube feed, and here we are. Hey everybody, it is June 17th. It is Tuesday. When Tara's telling the Trumpiest of truths is what's happening right now.
Yes.
It is amazing. Hello, how are you? What's going?
How am I? Oh, you're talking to me?
What's up, Devlin? Devlin, what's
I'm
up?
all right. I'm just checking all the levels.
You're all right.
Here.
We got 16 people in the chat. What's going on? Hello, everyone.
Can you hear my air conditioner?
Welcome.
It's on. It's kind of hot in here.
I can't.
It's a little.
I can't.
It's all right. We'll be fine.
can't.
Jim will let us know.
Hey, but I decided to hit the OG Trump shirt because we really beat the crap out of Trump on Saturday. So many great things happened on Saturday. I hope everybody in the chat and everybody who watches this episode was in the streets or supporting someone who was, and we're sharing the videos. We set a record for mass protest in the United States of America on Saturday, and there are various reports, as we never trust really the corporate media, but alt National Park Service is the account that I follow on Facebook, and also 50501, the organizers of the No King protests. And their numbers are somewhere between 12 and 13 million. And if those numbers are the accurate ones, which I choose to believe, then what our friend Malcolm Nance was talking about on Thursday has happened, because we needed somewhere between 3 and 3.5% of the population in the streets pushing back against this illegitimate administration. And we saw that on Saturday. And it was a glorious, beautiful thing to behold. And just as far as the dichotomy between what we created in counter protest to what was happening in Washington, D.C. So here in Portland, Oregon, there were 50,000 of us in the streets. And it was beautiful and amazing. And I encourage everybody to check out my personal Substack as well as the PVN Substack, Political Voices Network Substack, because I linked to it. But the sign game, the protest sign game in Portland is unparalleled. And even if I wasn't like a hugely politically motivated person, I would go out in the streets on any protest day just to see what the smart kids have come up with. Because that's who's out in the streets on Saturday, right? It's all the smart people. We're out in the streets and getting really creative with their protest sign games and the T-shirts. Here, and by the way, my booty still hurts because we marched a long ways. My booty.
Oh, you said maybe you got somebody squeeze your boobies or something in celebration.
No, that doesn't happen either. I'm very, very single. It's fine. Don't worry about that part of it. But I'm not a person who exercises a lot. I'm a writer. I sit on my booty a lot. But I was out there. We marched so much. We marched very hard on Saturday here in Portland, and we started at the South Waterfront, and we moved up and around, and then we crossed the Hawthorne Bridge, which was beautiful, and then we walked up Southeast Grand, and then we marched back across the Morrison Bridge. If you know anything about Portland, there's many, many bridges here. And what was one of the most beautiful sights to behold was just, aside from the sea of humanity,
just keep going, just keep
peacefully. Ignore the woman behind the curtain. What was beautiful, the beautiful sight to behold, a 100% peaceful protest, by the way. I was marching with a friend of mine, and we marched across the bridge. Hey, there's our favorite video, and you're like, I want you to know both of us are in our fifth. That's the Substack I was telling you about.
This one here, okay.
That one. So I loved this. No one has to pay me to hate you publicly, because that's true. I'm still waiting on my first Soros check from 2015. But anyway, one of my favorite images, as my friend and I were marching, both of us are over 50, right? We get to the Hawthorne, and he's like, "Are we really doing this?" I'm like, "We're really doing this." I gave out all 86 of my No Kings bracelets, by the way.
That's great.
I was like, yeah, we're doing this. So we cross the Hawthorne Bridge, march up Grand, start marching back across the Morrison. And as we look at that beautiful, look at it, gorgeous. I'm in there somewhere. We looked across the river, and at the Hawthorne Bridge, there were still thousands and thousands of people. There I am.
Yes,
And my friend who I was marching with is standing right behind me. But like I could see like the other bridge was still packed, teeming with people, still following, 50,000 of us strong. Okay, so I love this one. So there were a lot of little kids at my protest. I don't know about everybody else, but there were a lot of families at my protest in Portland. And that kid, his sign says, "I just graduated from preschool and I know more than Trump."
That's true. He's correct.
And that's true, right? And we had a lot of proud parenting going on, but I was very careful to protect the identities of people who didn't want to have their children's face. So I bet Trump's farts are really stinky.
That's also a little kid
awesome. Holding up his sign, you can see like the mom has him up on her shoulders. Glorious though, glorious, glorious, glorious. Stop pretending your racism is patriotism, which is so on the nose, right? For what MAGA is. Yeah, that's 100%, 100% accurate. This was like a whole thing. That's a whole bit from the Constitution. You know, people just were reminding everybody why we were there. This woman celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Hamilton, her sign says, "I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love."
That's from Hamilton? Okay.
That's from Hamilton. Yes. Donnie, you're out of your element. Name that movie.
Yeah. Oh. What is that?
Because
that?
That's from The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, of course.
John Goodman's line
that's
to
awesome.
Steve Buscemi. "Shut the fuck up, Donnie. You're out of your element." Yeah.
But it's true. It is true.
This man, I talked to this man for quite some time.
Him.
He was doing the double jerk off. He was like, and he did the accordion. He did an excellent Trump impression.
Ugh,
but that shirt, man, I love it. A lot of kids learned a lot of new words on Saturday here in Portland. I mean, basically, it's all that.
Yes.
That's the end. That was the energy.
That's good.
I loved this one. I loved this one.
It's so true.
It's evocative.
It's true.
Yes. "I will suck your dick for money, especially if your dick is attached to Vladimir Putin."
Dick's coming out of his eyes, out of his ears. They should have some coming out just ears, frankly. And
bleeding from his wherever.
If I could direct that photo a little.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. It was just glorious and beautiful. I loved this shirt. Thank God for immigrants, and it's a picture of Wham. That is amazing. George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley.
Yeah. Thank God for immigrants.
I mean, seriously, that's right. Yeah. That's right. And then look at this sea of humanity. This is us marching across a bridge. It's so fun to walk across a bridge in general, but when you're taking over the whole bridge, there's
Deport MAGA. I love it.
This was a Taylor Swift themed protest sign, and as a Swiftie over 50, I appreciated that creativity. And then look at that one. That's good. Who he is. He's good. He's just a giant turd.
Yeah, he's a turd. He's
a belongs in a toilet.
Even though toilets have,
on the toilet.
There's a reason for. See, that's why we
serve a purpose.
Yes, when I call him, a rat or whatever, and then I remember that rats were in a study, and they were given a choice of saving a fellow rat from drowning or getting a treat, and they saved that fellow rat every time.
Aww,
so to call
that's
Trump,
encouraging.
Yeah, to call Trump a rat is to give him a promotion. I mean, is to honor him. And pigs, I feel bad calling them a pig because they've done more for humanity, and they're definitely
pigs are very
charming.
Smart.
Yeah, and they have contributed. I mean, I just don't even want to talk about the human sustenance part because I don't eat animals. But
I know you don't.
But they also, because they're so close to our physiology in many ways. They are used in medical research, and they're helping humans develop different kinds of remedies that keep us alive. And nobody says thanks though, except we just did. But that's what I mean. Yeah. Calling him a pig is really beneath.
But I want
the
you
dignity
to,
of pigs.
if you take a quick look at that picture, we saw what we saw in Portland. We saw, and obviously it's also Pride Month. There was a lot of Pride flags. There were a lot of upside down American flags, but then there were also just a lot of American flags in general. There were a lot of Palestinian flags, a lot of Mexican flags, Canadian flags. There was a lot of representation from other countries who are still our allies, regardless of what MAGA thinks. And the unifying message still, we were chanting the chants in the street, like in comparison to the loser parade that happened in DC.
That was a good one.
Which was very poor. We saw it was very poorly attended. There were actually more people marching than viewing.
Yes.
And
disgrace.
You're not supposed to salute, you dumb
No, I
fuck.
know. It drives me absolutely up the wall, as you know, because it's we need to start calling it stolen valor salutes, because that's what it is. He never served.
Notice
and
that
that's
no one else is doing it.
Because he's
Pete
the
Hegseth,
only
who served,
he
isn't
shouldn't
doing
even
it,
be
so-
doing it though, because he's not in uniform.
No.
That's
And he has never served.
Yeah, well, Pete Hegseth, who's in civilian clothes, should not be saluting at that. That's a part of the code. He should fucking know that.
Why
I could
doesn't
get
he
out
tell
my
Trump that?
manual right now. I'll get my
But, like,
basic
why
soldier manual. It's in there.
Why wouldn't he? Pete Hegseth, who lives in Trump's alimentary canal, why would he not say, "Hey, you know, you're really not supposed to do that. That looks bad."
No.
No, but to help him save face, like to help Trump save face.
Because
that's not what.
No, here.
Now.
Let me explain. Let me explain though. It's
Please do.
Because he does. Well, because his stolen salutes or his stolen valor salutes are the next best thing that he can currently come to. Than donning a military uniform like the old fascists in the 20th century that he admires so much. He can't quite do that now because that would look it just wouldn't. It's not a good look nowadays. But he can salute, and that in itself blurs the line between civilian leadership and military control, and that's the point of his fascism. I mean, and he does it. I mean, I don't think he thinks about it that deeply, but that's what he's doing. And now, I'm not, whatever. I was in the National Guard, and when I saw this I was appalled.
This is resistance, though.
Yes,
it is silent resistance.
I was laughing. I couldn't believe it.
Tell the kids why.
First of all, anybody who served knows that you've seen better formations coming off the bus at basic training, I mean,
right?
And
they're just walking.
They're walking, and they're not even walking in time. There's no, and so that's what gave me hope when I saw this, because
this is silent resistance that Trump won't notice.
Yes, because
we do.
Exactly, because he wanted a goose-stepping parade. We don't goose-step, and because anybody who served knows that if we wanted to make a very tight and impressive, proud formation, we could do it. And there's no one calling cadence here. There's no one. I mean, you know how to correct yourself when you're out of step. That's what they teach you. You know how to get back in step. And there would be leadership or someone who's leading this platoon here to correct them and to call out the cadence so everybody could keep in time. And it would be pretty cool. I mean, that's part of one of the things I really enjoyed about the military was doing things like, I loved marching. I loved running in formation. That was fun, because we would run every morning in formation, and someone would sing cadence, and we would call back.
Hey,
and
we've all seen military movies.
Yeah, it was fun.
Something about this brings like vibes from Stripes when Bill Murray is leading at the graduation.
Yes.
That's the fact, Jack.
Right, but even they knew how to march. Look at him. I mean, they're not even.
But it took them forever to learn it. But what this reminds me is like when they started and they kept dropping their guns. It would be great, all of it. But my absolute.
It's like left, right, what?
Yeah, they're just like
they're just walking.
Their orders were walk from here to here. There's your orders, walk. Okay, now go home and eat a sandwich. Plus the fact that they were, as we were talking about with Malcolm Nance on Thursday, the National Guard that had been deployed to LA really weren't being utilized in the way that they were supposed to be, and they were mostly doing 2-hour shifts and then sitting around on their butts, not being fed, not given beds, not treated well, because Trump doesn't care about our military at all. And it was all for show.
Yep.
They're pissed. But what we got, what he wanted and what he got. So also, I don't know if you saw, but there is a clip of his Diet Coke valet, Walt Nada.
Oh, really?
Huffing something.
Where?
Oh, yeah.
Over here?
I don't know. Okay, so Walt is sitting right behind him, right?
This guy here, the bald guy?
Yes. There is, and look how far back Eric is. Anyway, it's fine.
It's such a disgrace.
Why would you have your
and first of
valet
all,
closer
what
than
the
your blood?
and him doing that jerk off move while he's saluting.
Jerk off, and Hegseth does the thumbs up.
What
But there's
the
also a
fuck?
clip somewhere. There is a clip of Nada is sitting behind Trump, who's barely alive, and he doesn't have his eyes open really. And Nada goes like that. He like does the thing where he goes like that.
Oh, what's
Like,
that?
what'd you just do, buddy? Were you snorting? Were you huffing? I have no idea. But
Huffing something.
He was doing an illegal substance on camera on Papa's birthday. Like
I gotta
that's what
find
that's
that.
what Trump wanted. He ordered this from
we
Temu.
could do this. We
not
did
what
this
he
in-
got.
we
Not
did
what
this
he
at-
got.
We did this at the graduation for basic training. You know, you're very
mean,
tight, and everybody looks
High
great.
school
You know?
ROTC would have been tighter.
Exactly.
my
And then
other
there's no
favorite-
like. They did nothing. They did no. Call and response. They did no,
Nope.
calling out the commands. Eyes right, and none of that.
Yep, nope.
Good.
Nope.
F you,
Nope. And
Trump.
they didn't even look like they were in like fancy dress.
They
weren't
didn't-
wearing
no, they
clothes
weren't
or
in their
nothing.
in their dress uniforms or anything. Just in the BDUs.
Very disrespectful. Very disrespectful. I loved it and
Incredible.
appreciated it. Of course, the defining moment of the Trump loser parade is the squeaky old tank.
Oh
'Cause
yes.
there's no
so
crowd noise.
Embarrassing.
There's no crowd noise. Zero. Pin drop.
And trust me, they got
then all it is,
WD-40 in the military.
They get this ancient tank, which is awesome. Like it's cool that people can see this is what the tanks looked like back in the day, and blah blah. Blah. And here's an old tank, but it's rolling down the street going. And Gavin Newsom released a supercut where it was like set to music, where it's like crowd.
Oh,
Crowd.
that's good.
But what I want is a similar supercut. And if there's anybody who's watching the show who's really good with editing, please make this happen for me, because it doesn't really take a lot to make me happy. But what I want is a supercut from all of the cities, but the crowd chants. Because we were chanting
Right.
stuff. We were chanting "No Kings." We were chanting "Whose streets, our streets," or "Whose flag, our flag." Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. A lot of that. So what I would love is a supercut of but like chants in New York, chants in LA, chants in Philly, chants in Portland. Squeaky, 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 squeaky. Chants here, chants. That's what we want. Making diaper full again. So if you put in the search box Walt Nada,
Yeah, that's what I was looking
probably-
for, but I can't
but
find
the first
it.
thing should be the video of him huffing. It's in this area.
It's in this area.
Because he was, I mean, it was at that
See?
same time. So
Okay,
anybody who's
Walt
pulling
Nada.
clips from that.
Walt
So
Nada. I'm looking. Walt
I mean,
Nada,
if you
huff.
sniff,
Or
maybe if you did
sniff.
sniff or
Walt
huff or drug. I don't know.
Nada.
I don't know.
Sniff.
But it happened, and that's one that's been
No,
shared as
no,
well as
no
this
results.
squeaky, and it's
No
just
results.
so funny. And made me so happy to see. I mean, I knew that it would be poorly
Let's see
attended,
what's in
and
there.
I knew it was set to rain. But everybody looked so bored and miserable.
that's
There's
him.
video of Marco Rubio yawning
Fuckers.
during the parade.
But you know,
There's
it's just so embarrassing for the army too. Like, what a disgrace!
Yes, that's
that
the other
he,
thing.
Yeah, that he robbed the military of their actual birthday celebration. There would have been things going on, and they would have been respectful, and also the soldiers could have enjoyed themselves a little. Not here. They would nothing but props, and they knew it. The way they would disrespectfully just billeted in wherever the hell they could put them. I don't know exactly, but they weren't in hotels. They were in like parking garages and sleeping.
they were
rough.
No, they were on the floor.
Yeah,
and that's not how
and
we're
they
supposed
got
to treat our
apparently they were given one hot meal. And
is what Malcolm was saying, and they were only scheduled to work 2-hour shifts. So for the rest of the day, your tax dollars are going to fund National Guardsmen sitting around, basically a shipping container waiting for their next 2-hour shift.
Oh,
Basically,
God.
his name is Waltine. What name is that? That's like
Waltine.
Saltine. I mean, I would go by Walt also, but I
And that
mean,
might be part of the problem where it started.
it's got. I've seen it. I've seen that shot repeatedly of him going. So, what if
That's
you
great.
did Walt, not a Trump parade?
Okay.
Try that. Try that. As we're also talking about stuff.
If anybody can find it, they could put it in the chat too. If there is
And then I guess
a
Melania
link.
was squeaky, 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 squeaky. It's just
Ew, that's
It's
the
loud.
noise.
That-
I don't know.
like he couldn't be bothered to stay awake for his own parade. It's so embarrassing for him, and
Yeah.
that he can't.
Well, he wanted a nice look. This is what he wanted.
You know,
Well, this is in
well,
France.
you didn't get that. You didn't get that, bitch. You don't deserve it.
And he
don't
was
deserve
falling
any-
asleep. Oh, fuck
Yeah,
you.
wait.
Stolen valor.
Did we-
Scum.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, I think that there were more people at my high school graduation.
Yeah, definitely.
So
It's just more
I mean,
people
this
milling
is,
around in a, just like
I
on a
almost
regular
wanna
day. That's what it
I
was.
almost want to believe that some of these people showed up just to see who was going to show up, just out of curiosity, like
Well, there
a
was a lot
natural
of maggots.
curiosity, like
Yeah, there were maggots
attended
there.
by 6 dozen people. 3,000 security guards and 387 and oh god, Stephen Chung, who I call Odd Job, posted that 250,000 people were there to cheer him on, and it's just like, no,
Oh,
that
honey,
is
we have
literally
eyes.
not at all what happened, not even close. And Politico tried it too, like, oh, Trump's successful. It's like, just
Really?
bull
They did.
shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Yeah. So,
Scums.
man,
these
I know that there's
scums.
video of him.
Well,
you're,
you know.
I feel like you're in the right place. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. Are you sure you saw this? Because don't you think it would
I
be
am
there?
positive. I saw it in more than one place.
Here we go.
I saw it on both Twitter and Blue Sky.
Oh,
It's just,
look
it's
at the
beautiful.
crowd. Oh, God.
It's great.
It's like
It's great.
everybody's
So good.
family, maybe.
Then people are like, click, okay, all right.
Yeah.
the
When I was a
umbrellas,
kid, my
too.
father took me to there's a little base on Staten Island. I can't remember what it's at. Not Fort Hamilton. Maybe it is Fort Hamilton. Anyway, it's escaping me. And they had a little party, and I rode on a tank. I always remember, but it seemed even that little party on Staten Island seemed a little bit more spectacular, and more well attended than this. And
Yes.
and the enthusiasm was a lot more evident.
Yeah.
What is this shit? Oh, this is 2020.
I don't-
All right, let's get out of here.
Anyway, if anyone can find that Walt Nada
Yeah.
thing, that'd be great. I
Yeah.
also got souvenirs that I'm going to utilize from No Kings. I don't know if anybody else marched, but I got souvenirs that I can take to the grocery store with me.
That's a good idea.
But on raised prices. Trump did that.
Yep.
Jokes on you. And then I got some 8647. People were very generous in the crowd.
I love it.
And very motivated because we were all there to fight a common enemy. And it's something like that, and it restores your hope in a potential future for this country, because aside from the pushback that we saw from most of America on Saturday, Trump is losing steam with his own MAGA cult just because he wants to try to help Israel create World War III.
Right.
Just a little bit of a nuclear war to make us stop talking about the Epstein files. Now, there are MAGA cultists who are mad about this. There's their red line. We have been asking, where is your red line for a decade, basically, right? They're fine with him raping little girls with Jeffrey Epstein. They still don't want to believe my Epstein files thing is true. He still has to pay E. Jean Carroll $5 million. That was just, he lost in
true.
court again to E. Jean,
He
so
still
he's also
won't
still
pay
an
her, will he?
adjudicated rape. What a weird way for an innocent and transparent person to behave.
Yeah.
They're fine with him they'll deny he's an adjudicated rapist. They will make excuses for him being best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. They will do all of these things. But apparently, imminent nuclear war is scary enough for MAGA to be like, this is not what I voted for. And Tucker Carlson has criticized him, and Trump has already responded saying like Tucker is like he's done with Tucker. And Joe Rogan has pushed back against Trump. He's done. And then there's this guy Dave Smith who goes on Joe Rogan, and I don't know any of these like super crazy. I mean, I know like the big ones. I know who Alex Jones is, and I know who Joe Rogan is, obviously. But this guy Dave Smith who goes on Joe Rogan he's like I'm done. This is it. He has crossed the line. This isn't what we voted for.
Long.
You know what? You know what? I mean, eventually. And these are the worst people who enjoyed being terrible. It's not just like your average MAGA voter who is like, well, you know, he's going to build the wall. And blah, blah, blah. Like my stepdad. My stepdad is not MAGA. My stepdad is just a stubborn Republican who refuses to vote for a Democrat no matter how many times I have pointed out to him how much Democrats do to help red states. Right? Basically anyone who lives in a red state is benefiting from socialism. They don't know that that's what it is. But that's
exactly.
They
need to know.
They
need to know.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what my stepfather believes to be true and what is true are diametrically opposed things. However, he is also capable of understanding that what he voted for is not what he's getting. So it is what it is there. And so we have to. There will be a reckoning. I mean, it started, and we've been waiting for this reckoning for a while. And there have been moments here and there where I was like, okay, like the Access Hollywood tape, I really thought was going to end him. Yeah. Oh, how naive. It seems quaint, pretty much by comparison now.
Really?
If this is where their line is, if this is where he loses, Cat Turd and Tim Cesspool and Charlie Kirk, great, fine. I don't care how long it took you to get here. Thanks for getting here.
Well,
and we'll have a choice to make. Are we going to shame them for it taking them this long, or are we going to be grateful that they finally woke up?
Shame.
What are we supposed to do? Like, do we have a responsibility?
No. Here's the thing. The way I feel is like after World War II, all of the French women that gave aid and comfort to the enemy were marched into the town square, and their hair was shorn, and they had to atone a little bit. That's how I feel. But these people are, I'm not saying shave their head. I'm just making a comparison that you can't just be like, all right, welcome back to the fold. I don't know. These people are the worst. They will never see the light. It really is the problem. I don't know. I go back and forth. See, I believe that we're in this boat because of money and politics and the propagandized media, right? Half the country is being fed lies incessantly, some of which literally funded by the Kremlin. And the other half is not strong enough. The corporate media is still the corporate media, of course, and that's where we come in. And I don't really believe that we should be kind to that. I mean, I'm saying, welcome back, whatever. But before the truth sets you free, it pisses you off. These people need a good look in the mirror, and maybe they are beyond redemption. Like somebody like Tucker Carlson is irredeemable, because he really is. Because just go back his whole life. He's a fraud.
He's covering his own mouth.
Yes, he's an absolute fraud. He's born on third base, sliding into home. He really is, this one of these privileged princes who used his money and privilege to poison the empty minds of his fellow Americans. I mean, there's nothing uglier and more evil than that. Because what? It's not enough for you? It wasn't enough for you? You fucking...
There's nothing that's enough for them. There's not enough money. There's not enough power. There's not enough toys.
Yeah,
I don't know why. But we are
evil.
seeing as we're seeing this shift away from Trumpism, we're also seeing a lot of people standing up, speaking out against Fox News. Like, I'm not saying I'm rewarding her behavior here, but Marjorie Taylor Greene says Fox News is propaganda.
What?
I'm shocked.
But she's shocked. In this instance,
propaganda?
She's talking about,
And she is critical of Trump doing what he is doing in supporting Israel. So she is mad that President Trump never gave her. Oh my God, her voice is like, oh my God,
it's like a rake on a chalkboard. It's the stuff of nightmares.
I think that she is she is. She has a lot of daddy issues, but I would say that I think she was really clinging to the hope that she would eventually get her pardon. I mean, especially after watching like the Chrisleys get pardoned.
Get it? Oh, right.
She has never gotten her pardon that she asked for 3 days after being sworn in.
Well, now that he's pardoned all the traitors, doesn't
but he hasn't pardoned her.
Count? Isn't she?
No.
Grouped in
no,
with that?
She hasn't. She has not been specifically pardoned, or else it would have been a giant news story, and it would have been all over her Twitter.
That's good
and
news.
It would be her pinned tweet instead of her pinned tweet is still about her stupid book that nobody read. She would have been like, I am so grateful to President Trump for clearing my name because all I did was support President Trump.
Ugh. This is a TikTok that was on the Political Voices Network. See, here's the thing. Here it is. It's like, it shows the bombings. But I wanted to point out, I've been making these TikToks, just so you guys know. This is why I never sleep. But not all the TikToks. But
I also don't have TikTok anymore, so I'll
I hear you. I mean, it goes up on YouTube too, and all the other Substack.
Yeah,
but
Hal Sparks says it's Chinese spyware. So,
I hear you.
And then that fuckery with it. We're gonna take TikTok away, but President Trump will bring it back to you.
Right. I mean, fuck him. But here's I wanted to point out that the background of the bombing. It's not just that he's cool with it now and arming and providing the weapons and all that. It's that his withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal was what caused this. We have to really we have to connect the dots here. He, he petulantly, because he's a scumbag, a man-child who destroys everything he touches. I mean, let's get real.
Yes.
He the Iran nuclear deal kept Iran in check. So when he pulled out, because we had monitors in there were cameras. They had the possibility of Iran achieving a nuclear weapon went from weeks to over a year. Okay, and that wasn't good enough for the maggots, I suppose. But we had on the ground inspectors, and they were working with us. And when he pulled us out of the deal, he basically once again ruined our good name around the world because now that's all he does.
Petulant
that's
baby.
all he does. So without this deal, diplomatic options became no. And making direct military conflict between Israel and Iran almost inevitable. How else are you going to solve it? Even though this freak, he's like, oh, make a deal. If I never hear that word deal coming out of his mouth again, it'll be too soon.
Right?
He doesn't know deal.
Well,
it's an easiest deal.
And he also told the 8 million citizens of Tehran to evacuate. You can't do that.
All right,
don't do that.
Go.
You can't
get my cats.
Fucking
let me
idiot.
Get my guinea pig. Let me go.
Just
let's
like
go.
he's gonna just like he's gonna deport all of the people who protest against him. You're gonna deport 13 million of us all at once.
I don't
think that you are. Good fucking luck to you. And once again, this is another great opportunity to remind everybody that Kamala Harris would not be doing
and that's why I wrote, because it's just another troll. This would never have this would have never happened if I were still president, and if I were President Harris. It's true.
And she is apparently the rightful 47th president, because there are all of these news stories coming out about voting machines being tampered with. Right. And there was a district in New York City, in New York State, where there were 0 votes for her.
No way.
No, not in a blue district, in a blue state.
Hell no.
So the recount is starting with this town in New York State, and it's going to keep going.
This is great.
It's going to keep going. It's beautiful.
Wow.
It kind of goes towards what you and I talked about on the show the day that Elon tweeted those facts about the Epstein files and how he helped Trump win the election. And that was like just 2 weeks ago, which feels like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
But it still matters, right? Like, the Epstein files story absolutely still matters, and we need to keep that floating around at the top of the news cycle, as well as, but the bigger story is, and because everyone's like, why didn't Joe Biden do something about the Epstein files? It's just like,
I hear
Anyway,
you. I
anyway, the bigger matter at hand is Donald Trump stole not just the 2024 election, but the
Yep.
2016 election. It becomes
Yeah.
more egregiously obvious. But we talked about 2 weeks ago. We talked about what if we found out it was true and not just us saying it. Even though we believe it with all of our hearts. We believe with all of our hearts that there is no
Right.
way Donald Trump won all 7 swing states. No way. Maybe he won one. Maybe. But even if
I
he did, it
know.
didn't happen on election night. He never, no way, no. And so the sweep of the 7 swing states is one of the most sus parts of it. And that he doesn't have a mandate and
Yeah.
all of the things. But they are starting this recount in New York State, and it's going to continue. I don't know why it didn't happen in November.
Yeah, it's New York.
We can't
Let
go
me see.
back.
It
can't go
alleges
back.
serious voting irregularities, including statistical anomalies, and claims that hundreds of votes, particularly for Harris, were not properly counted by the voting machines. That would be something Elon
Shocking.
Musk would do.
Correct.
You can't
And
you can't put anything outside their realm. They're traitors.
he says you can hack anything. Elon tweeted, anything can be hacked. I don't
Yep.
believe for one moment that Donald Trump legitimately won this election, and I never will. And so
You're
we
right.
started saying, look, what would happen? What would happen if we found out it was true beyond any doubt that this election was actually stolen and Kamala Harris is the rightful 47th president? What could happen? Because it's never happened before where we've had to remove an entire administration. And people are starting to write about what could happen,
Oh,
what should happen,
I
what
want it to
might
happen.
happen. Is there a shadow cabinet already in place? What do you do? And one of the things that I said, and we were just spinning, right? We were just from the tops of our heads because, again, it never happened before. We have to, maybe make, some in a new amendment to add to the Constitution should this ever, unfortunately, somehow happen again. But what I said at the time, and I still think it makes sense, is that you remove the president, vice president, and the cabinet and all of his appointments and replace them with Kamala and her whatever she was getting ready to do.
Right.
You leave Congress where it is. You leave Congress seated the way it is. If they want to reelect new leadership within the two sides, the two chambers, that's whatever. Then you just continue on trying to fix all of the fuckery that they did. And then we have the 2026 midterms where the people really speak. And I think that's a way that we go forward. But what it comes down to is getting the proof. Because we can sit here all day and say what could, what might, what should.
Yeah, that has to come first. It has to be overwhelming.
What we need is the stone cold proof. And what we need is more pushback from congressional Republicans. And this brings us to what happened. The other thing that happened on Saturday, among all of the things that we were celebrating, is that an insane, crazy person murdered two
A MAGA terrorist.
human beings in a MAGA terror and MAGA was on it right away, going, no, it was a Democrat. A Democrat because he worked for Tim Walz. Tim
That's
Walz
who they
bipartisan.
Yeah.
Made a bipartisan appointment to a committee that has nothing to do with ruling and government and
And it was
lawmaking.
like a non-personal appointment too. He
Correct.
didn't know this person.
And that a state senator, a state representative lost her life and her husband, and her daughter is an orphan. Her daughter is 12 and is an orphan. I met one of her constituents on Saturday at the march. A woman from Minnesota was at my march on Saturday in Portland because she was here in Portland for somebody's graduation. And she was talking about how she had met Melissa and had,
Shame.
these are wonderful people.
horrible.
And it's interesting. And this man had a kill list of Democrats. And I imagine they were alphabetical considering the way he went about it.
And all the greatest hits.
Amy Klobuchar was on it. And anybody in Walz was on it. And so he had a kill list of Democrats. He was a known conservative, a known Trump supporter. And MAGA is trying to make it like, right? And yes, you did. And that brings us to everyone should be signed up for our Substacks, both on the Political Voices Network and our individuals, because this is where you get truth from. You don't get it from Mike Chernovich.
See, this is where they start, right from the jump. They don't wait
Did he have her executed? I mean,
Exactly.
right then and there. That's when the FBI picks up somebody like a Mike Chernovich and says, "Fuck you for doing that," and you're
Right.
gone, because that's dangerous.
No,
He's a professional conspiracy theorist. Congratulate. Mike Chernovich made my
sends a
life miserable in
message.
2016. There are not enough bad things that can happen to Mike Chernovich,
Oh,
in my opinion.
he's a monster.
Oh,
And this too, the
monster. And
vice
what-
president candidate for the Democrat Party. Fuck you.
Yo.
Oh, that's again.
Is directly connected to a domestic terrorist. That is confirmed. No, it is not. It is not confirmed.
But you know what?
Democrats
As
are
I'm-
not domestic terrorists.
No. And look at what he writes. This is Benny Johnson, who
fuck
was
this guy.
taking money from Putin to spread pro-Trump propaganda. Let's never forget that. Wrote that Tim Walz is the face of evil. Tim Walz?
I mean, the projection.
Have you
Look
have
at
you
that
met-
evil face.
Yeah, have you looked in the mirror? And then
Father
Grok,
of the year,
Yeah,
Coach Tim? I don't think so.
right? Grok, the traitor Trump. I mean, Elon Musk's artificial intelligence started to validate the lies. Okay, so this
Right,
is what we're
of course.
dealing with. And Grok, as I wrote, and is notorious for spreading false or misleading information about public figures who happen to be Democrats. It's just
Right.
that. And then when Musk is asked about it, it's his the training data. It's a work in progress. How come it always affects Democrats, though? It's always the lies
Weird,
are
right?
about Democrats.
So weird.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So weird.
And so that's why they started spreading it. That this was a leftist because he had no.
They do that
kings.
every
Yeah.
time, though. They do
Every
this
single
every time a
time.
MAGA domestic terrorist commits an act of domestic terrorism.
Yep.
They tried to do it in Charlottesville. They tried to do it, with the Tree of Life shooting. They do
Yep.
it, and Mike Lee fucking needs to resign.
Him.
This is so disgusting. This is so disgusting to me.
Isn't it? Buddha.
I mean, Mike Lee makes me angry for lots of reasons. First of all, Mormonism is not a real religion. Organized religion makes me mad. But the backstory of how Mormonism came to be is so
It's just
fucking
bullshit.
stupid. Jesus did not live in America.
No.
Just
And
shut
some
up.
fucker found some things in a mountain or
Found some
under a rock.
The tablets
he found,
buried in the
some-
ground in upstate New York, and then Joseph Smith led them west to you. Shut the fuck
where
up.
they
None of
proceeded to
Just shut up. Just stop. And so then and he's a Mormon, which means here's
He's
this
a
Mormon. He's
fucking
already
weirdo.
and this is also the same guy who wants to get rid of porn from the internet. You lying sack
Well,
of
you know
shit.
why?
You love porn.
He can't.
You
help
love
himself.
porn.
Yes.
You need to remove the temptation because you can't handle your business.
Because you can't
And
handle
he
it.
tweeted this thing is disgusting. It's disgusting, and then he deleted it, but screenshots
scumbag.
are forever. He was pulled out of committee by his associate, Senator Tina Smith, who's a Republican.
Oh,
and
really?
he wouldn't listen to her either. Yeah, she was like, "The fuck are you doing?" basically, and he was like, "I don't have to talk to you." And so
Oh, good. Well,
Mike
that's
Lee
good.
needs to fucking resign
Yeah,
because
they
it's
all.
disgusting.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like with Paul Pelosi when they were gleefully celebrating the
Yep.
fact that he almost fucking died. And so that you celebrate
How's his head doing? Isn't that what that fucking...
that they made up a story that his attacker was his lover. I mean, that's how deep and how twisted they are, and that they will turn themselves into pretzels to avoid any truth about Donald Trump, but they will believe any lie about a Democrat without anything.
Because
this man,
it just goes to show you
this man is crazy.
Yeah. They're not sincere. They're not sincere partners in governance. They're the domestic enemies that the founders warned us about. And I wish I was wrong, but they keep proving me right. When you jump in with all these lies immediately on the back of another maggot-inspired, lie-inspired act of violence, right? How many do we have to endure until and
well,
the
now
Republicans-
isn't the time. But now isn't the time to talk about
true.
gun control. Okay. It's never.
Yeah.
It is never a Democrat who goes in and shoots up a bunch of people.
No.
It is never. I mean, they would have to be so supremely disturbed. And an anomaly, really, because Democrats are not the party of violence. And you saw that on Saturday with national peaceful protests everywhere. Right. And yes, there were pockets here and there, like
Which makes
something
me
that
wonder,
something
though,
that really
well, agent provocateurs, okay? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, like, ICE protests are different than the No Kings protest. And there was a lot of lumping them together, which is inaccurate.
Yes, that's
because while there are people protesting ICE within the No Kings protest, the specific ICE, like if the people going to the ICE facilities, that's different. And there was an altercation at the Portland ICE facility on Saturday as we were marching. But what the media tried to do was make it seem like that was the whole No Kings march.
Yes.
And there was an AP photo of a guy getting, he's on the ground getting like zip tied. And that was the photo from Portland that people were sharing more than the peaceful protest, because that's what they want, right? They love violence. They love death. They love using that to intimidate us.
Yeah,
right?
It's always about dividing people. Never unity. Every time there's something like this happens, and if it were a Democrat who did this, they would immediately disavow and say we need to come together and blah blah blah. That's it. That's what the Democrats do. It's the Republicans who will immediately look for a way to capitalize on it and ensure that the violence continues. That's what they're doing. That's right. They want more violence. That's right. They clearly do.
They do. And and going back to before, like the point of, here's their line at nuclear war, which is the ultimate display of violence. And even they don't want that. So there is a point where they're okay with one-on-one violence. They're okay with threatening an individual, targeting certain individuals.
Not just individuals, though, my friend. States. They are all in on violence against blue states.
Yes. But when it comes to the threat of nuclear war, all of a sudden they are a big no.
No, foreign wars are no, but domestic, they want the Civil War. They want a civil war. That is
as long as it's not nuclear. Even they can understand that a nuclear war is bad for the whole world, including the part of the world they live in.
I don't think that they're thinking that far, though, as far as nuclear war. Because Trump is talking about foreign entanglements. That's what he ran on. No forever wars. No more wars in the Middle East. America first. That's what he's talking about.
And that's what they're mad about. He promised them this. He gave them that. You were promised winning. You got whining. He's a war criminal owned by Putin.
Yes.
So is Benjamin Netanyahu. So is Mike Huckabee. So is J.D. Vance.
Mike, let's get that tweet up or that text.
How is Mike Huckabee the ambassador to Israel?
Well,
of all the people you could choose,
that's what it is. They are waiting for Jesus to return. He should want a war, because that would make Jesus very happy, and he could step down on the bodies and make
Mike Huckabee,
make the world
the father of the dog murderer and the lyingest press secretary until Caroline. Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, but he killed a fire chief captain and the shooter. The other violence was fine. God didn't spare anybody else, just Trump. And so
let's see, to be spared you in Butler to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe because consequential in the fact that he's a fucking destructor.
Please don't send Putin to kill me is the subtext of this entire text. I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours. Yes, because no other president in history is a convicted felon who raped little girls procured for him by Jeffrey Epstein and owes E. Jean Carroll $5 million and more for raping her. It's just, this is so vile.
The way they have to lick his ass all the time. They know what the fuck he is. Do they really believe this? They know he's a serial bankrupt con man with a fake university, a multi-level marketing vitamin scam. A laundry list of scams that failed. Oh my God, they know what he is. They know he doesn't know, his ass from his elbow, reality from whatever Putin shit is pouring into his mind, his empty skull. They know that.
Oh my God.
They know what a traitor he is.
I know. I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice
Someone
is
stop.
more important than mine or anyone else's.
Someone make it
You will
stop.
hear from heaven. Heaven is like, I don't know
I
her.
wish.
Heaven doesn't.
Will Jesus take
Heaven's
the
like,
wheel
who?
already?
Who? The rapist,
Heaven.
felon?
Right.
Who? Even Satan's like, I don't want her.
Right.
So, like, and death is too good for Donald Trump. He needs to suffer.
Yes.
In a way
we've
that
discussed,
is
legally and
public.
peacefully.
Legally
and peacefully suffer.
Legally,
No, he
one of the
needs
things
to
that
be
Devlin
public-
and I have talked
Mhm.
about in our one of the things that we've talked
You know.
about in our off the air conversations is a bad karma to wish death on a person. One of the reasons why I think he's obsessed with Elvis is that he's worried he's going to die on the toilet, which is how Elvis died, which is a very embarrassing way to go if you're the king, right?
Mhm.
And I think that if you know anything about Donald Trump and his habits and his behaviors, of course he's going to die on the toilet at 3:00 in the morning with his
Yeah.
phone still in his hand.
True.
Oh, with an unfinished tweet
Yeah,
being
something.
written, and he's gonna be like, Ugh, we
He's gonna
won't be told
like
that
sick
though.
from eating
That's not-
some shit. and
They're
then
not
he's-
gonna
Right,
right.
he's
They're
gonna-
not gonna tell us that's how he died though. They'll be like, our beloved leader went home to Jesus peacefully in his sleep, and the angels carried him from up on high and lifted him
A
to the
chorus
glory,
of
blah, blah,
angels.
blah, blah.
Yes.
Here's
We all
an
heard the
AI
angels.
representation of Trump
Mhm.
meeting God at the pearly gates. That's the story we'll get, but he will
Wait.
die on the toilet like Elvis.
I am your appointed servant in this land, and I am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often. Your presence, because you stink. Okay, that's
Because
what
you're disgusting,
you
and I don't
smell.
want the optics of being photographed next to you.
I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. I don't
Remind
reach.
me, did you recall Harry Truman threatening to deport millions of people or
No.
raping anyone? I don't remember that.
I do recall him
I-
saying the buck stops here, though. Whereas Traitor Trump
that.
says, "No one, I don't take responsibility. I don't
No,
take
what
responsibility."
Trump says,
at
buy
all."
my Trump bucks.
Uh-huh.
Trump sells Trump bucks. What about this fucking phone they want to
Yeah.
sell? It's gonna be a
Oh,
Trump
well,
mobile.
it's a
It's gonna
blind
be Trump
trust.
mobile.
These
It's
people,
a direct line to Putin. You just pick it up and someone goes, "Hello, how might I help you?"
Oh God! Imagine
I-
if
you-
Biden or
you call-
anyone.
Oh my God! You get the Trump mobile and you dial information and it goes, "Hello, how can you help
Hello?
me?"
Can I have your
what
PIN
it
number?
is.
Yes. It's just another
Social security number,
Yeah, it's a
passport number.
honeypot. It's another kind of honeypot for dupes
grift-
to have their
the grift is
fucking
endless.
info
Now,
stolen.
Okay, so there's two things. There's couple of things I want to
Ooh,
touch on
hear
before
from
we wrap.
heaven. Okay.
Our
okay.
friend Dave wants us to talk about the Nancy Mace bot farm story.
Okay, let
So
me see.
apparently, Nancy Mace is crazy. We already know that.
Oh,
we already
yeah.
know that Nancy Mace says that she's a rape survivor. I tend to believe women when they say they've been sexually
Okay.
assaulted. But at the same time, she has never called out Donald Trump for being an adjudicated rapist
Mm-hmm.
who, once again, owes E. Jean Carroll millions of dollars. Doesn't say anything about the Epstein files. Doesn't say anything about Andrew and Tristan Tate being welcomed back into the United States by their fellow rapist. Says nothing. Harasses her own constituent in Ulta.
Oh, look
Does
at
all this
that.
performative bullshit. Turns out Nancy Mace made her staffers make fake accounts to promote her.
That's
she's
great.
cuckoo
Of
bananas.
course. Well,
And
yeah.
she is like if somebody went to Glamour Shots and took the Glamour shot and said make this into a terrible person. So that's like all she cares about. It's all of the surface with no substance. Same as Trump, same as Kristi Noem. It's all about the visual
Yes.
performativeness
That's
of
what they
whatever.
are.
But the fact that
Uh-huh.
she went the extra step to create like her own bot farm so that there would be
She's probably
positive
not the only
messaging.
one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But and probably not. This is probably a tip of the iceberg situation, and I'm sure that if there was more investigations into more of the mediocrity from MAGA in Congress, I bet you would find it. But it doesn't surprise me as someone who has repeatedly tweeted Nancy Mace and has been quote unquote trolled by her quote unquote followers who are all fake.
Yes.
It's very obvious. It's very obvious
That's
to
right.
me. And again, I promise I will write a whole primer. It just
You got
takes
it.
it's a lengthy amount of time that it'll take with screenshots and examples and blah, 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 blah. But I don't doubt that this is true because she loves putting on a show instead of doing her fucking job.
Right. Yeah.
And
well, that's
she,
clear.
right, that's great. And I still want to know where she thinks Caitlyn Jenner goes to the bathroom when she goes to Mar-a-Lago. Caitlyn Jenner, by the way, who was somehow the Grand Marshal of Israeli Pride, but then the Pride Parade got called off, and she and Scott Jennings got stuck in Israel together.
Wait a
Isn't that
minute.
nice?
Who?
I love that
Who
for
did?
them.
Who did?
Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner
Oh shit.
was invited to Israel to be the Grand Marshal of their Pride Parade, which they called off because they're trying to have a war with Iran.
Oh wow.
So for whatever reason, she couldn't get out of
Caitlyn
Israel, and
Jenner.
for whatever reason, Scott Jennings was there as well.
I just wanted
so
to remind
Caitlyn
everybody
Scott-
of this though, because we're talking about Nancy Mace. This was a
Yeah.
Republican. He forgot to. This was a while ago.
That
Yeah, he forgot to.
I'm a black
it's
gay
being
guy.
cut- He forgot to switch his account when
Right.
he. How come this
Right.
doesn't?
So-
fucking- it's so
so,
annoying the
if
way-
everyone wants
I'm
to take a
a black gay
moment,
guy.
I
I'm
can
a black
personally
gay guy.
say Obama did nothing for me. Sure, you don't look like black or gay. Yes,
He clearly
Gay and
thought that he
closeted.
was responding in his burner account. This is who they are.
they're just the dumbest cult
They're the fucking
in
stupidest.
history. So I mean, I don't know if anything's going to happen to Nancy Mace for doing this because there's never
Yeah.
accountability for these
No.
people.
No.
But it also doesn't surprise me that they're so far gone that they care more about this than anything else.
Right. Well, that's all they have.
It's just
Yeah, they don't
of course
have.
it's just sad and
real
stupid
things.
and
yeah, yep,
pathetic. That's sad. And then here's something that I just want to do personally before we wrap. I found out this morning I'm number 42 in fiction on Substack.
Nice.
42 out of all of the people who are on Substack. I don't know how many people are on
Wow,
Substack.
that's
But
cool.
I feel like 42 is pretty good as far as like statistics go when you think about how many people utilize
I
Substack.
say.
And as I'm scrolling through the chat, I'm just scrolling, and where is the person I wanted to ask this question of? Dun, 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 dun. What is that? I want to make sure I get the account correct. 1 second. If they're still, oh, maybe they left. Wait 1 second. I'm just, because, Jake Tapper's book has tanked, and
Good.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's book tanked, and every time a Republican puts out a book, they tank. And actually, there's a clip somewhere of Jake Tapper getting read to filth by someone who called in from C-SPAN. She's like, I really don't like you. What you wrote about Joe Biden is terrible. Why aren't you more focused on what Trump is doing and how he's falling apart? He's deteriorating.
Oh,
And Bob
really?
is just,
And what did he say? Did you see the response?
he just like sat there. He just like sat there and took it, which is also
He's a
sad. 'cause
disgrace.
just
Well, then he goes on
spineless.
right-wing shows, and he went on Megyn Kelly's. Oh, not Megyn. Yeah, is that the one?
Oh, of
Megyn
course.
Kelly's
Yes, he went on
podcast?
Megyn Kelly's show, and he went on Newsmax.
Yeah,
there
and
she
they
is.
asked him to apologize. Will you apologize? Because for telling us that we were conspiracy theorists. But the thing is, he's full of shit. Joe Biden. So if he needed a nap, he earned it. For Christ's sakes, he doesn't have dementia, and my
Every
dad
president
had
took a
it.
nap every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, I mean,
Every president.
my father
'cause
had
it's
dementia.
It's an exhausting job.
It
It's an
just makes
exhausting
me
job.
mad that the way they exploit that. Of course he doesn't have
Of
dementia. If
course.
he had fucking dementia, he wouldn't even be able to read a teleprompter. These fuckers.
I know. All right,
shit.
one last thing
Go ahead.
before
Go
we
ahead.
quit.
You were gonna do your
okay,
thing.
Melissa Free Range Psychic. I'm telling you what, I will listen to a psychic if they're going to tell me something good. Melissa Free Range Psychic. When I am determined to get a book deal for The Sound of Settling, a rock and roll love story, which you see behind me, which you can purchase right now at towerdublinrocks.com. I am 42 on Substack. And there's 100, I'm just throwing out a lot of numbers here. There's 154 people watching. If every single person in the chat bought my book, that would be great, which they can do at towerdublinrocks.com. Is there a siren going on at your place? My name is
Outside.
Melissa Free Range
It's
Psychic.
New York.
Melissa Free Range Psychic. Please let me know what I have to do to get my book deal.
Who's
Is it coming? Am I having
Free
it?
Range Psychic? Who's that?
She's in the chat,
Oh.
and I thank her for her presence along with everybody else who was here. Thank you, Jim.
Where's Melissa? I wanna
She's
ask
in
her
there
if
in
it's
the
all gonna
chat.
work out.
Maybe we should have Melissa on as a guest, and she could just give us readings. But the
Now
point
we're
being,
now we're stealing.
something needs to happen with this book that everybody loves. 'Cause
Yes.
when we succeed, it makes MAGA cry.
That's right.
That's what I want. So everybody, please sign up for my Substack, for Devlin's Substack, buy my book, The Sound of Settling at TaraDublinRocks.com. And we will see you back here on Thursday,
All
same
right,
Tara
guys.
time, same
Yep.
Tara channel. Go out and resist. Thank
Yes.
you so much. We
Stay
love you and
safe.
appreciate you. Thank you, Jim, for being the best
Thank you,
moderator
Jim.
ever.
See you later.
Thank you, everybody.